Imagine opening your favorite news app and seeing a headline that stops you mid-scroll. A young leader in the heart of West Africa wants to rattle the global order, not with oil, not with rare earths, not with missiles or microchips, but with fruit. Bananas. A plan spoken of in whispers and shouted in thumbnails, a plan described as worth $150 million, a plan that some claim could embarrass the biggest names in development finance. The International Monetary Fund. The United States Agency for International Development. The European Union. Is this the moment when a humble crop becomes a lever that moves the world, or is it a story that has grown faster than the facts can catch up? Stay with me. Because by the time we are done, you will see how a banana can carry a country's hopes, how a field of green can test the promises of sovereignty, and how a simple breakfast fruit can pull the threads of global power tight enough to show where they hold and where they might snap. Picture a grocery aisle in the United States. Bright lights. A row of perfect yellow arcs. A family pauses, checks the price, and drops a bunch into the cart without thinking about the journeys that brought it there. Somewhere far from that aisle, a farmer weighs a different decision. Whether to plant a varietal that resists heat. Whether to gamble on irrigation. Whether the road to market will be safe. Whether a government promise will arrive before the next dry spell. Between those moments lies a chain of choices that link a West African village to a North American breakfast table. That chain is the stage for our story. Burkina Faso sits in the Sahel, a wide belt below the Sahara where the land is stubborn and the sky can be kind or merciless. In this landscape, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has positioned agriculture as a matter of dignity and survival. The message is simple and resonant: grow more at home, depend less on others, feed people first, and build pride around local production. Bananas and plantains are not just calories here. They are symbols you can hold in your hand. They are visual proof that a promise can ripen. But symbols do not irrigate fields. They do not mend roads or chill a truck. Turning a symbol into a system requires 1,000 unglamorous steps carried out by people whose names never trend. The farmer who learns to space plants properly. The cooperative that negotiates a fair price for fertilizer. The technician who repairs a solar pump when the sun is brutal. The driver who keeps a cool head at a checkpoint. The packhouse worker who rejects a bruised batch even when the pressure to ship is rising. A real banana strategy is made out of those quiet decisions. Let us walk through a season. The rains have retreated. The soil breathes out dust. Farmers gather under a shade tree to hear the extension officer introduce a hardier cultivar. It is not a miracle plant. It is simply a better match for heat and pests. The officer demonstrates how to mulch, how to conserve soil moisture, how to stagger harvesting so cash does not come all at once and then vanish. A few weeks later, a local credit group meets in the back of a clinic. Members debate whether to finance a shared pump. They weigh the risk that conflict might cut the road, or that prices might dip. They agree, because not agreeing means standing still. Irrigation becomes the hinge. With steady water, a banana plot does not have to live or die by the mood of the clouds. Yields rise. Schedules become predictable. Families can plan. Children can stay in school instead of chasing day labor. When irrigation is powered by small solar arrays, fuel bills drop and the math begins to work in favor of patience. The most patriotic speech in the world cannot compete with a pump that runs. Then logistics steps in, demanding respect. Bananas are living cargo. They breathe. They ripen. They bruise. A country that wants to feed itself from its own farms has to move that cargo with care. That means feeder roads that do not shake fruit to mush. That means crates that do not cut into the skin. That means packhouses where hands move quickly and eyes never get tired of quality control. It means cold chain, the quiet magic that slows time without stopping it. quality control is an education. Farmers learn that export dreams die on the stem if standards are sloppy. They learn that domestic markets deserve the same care, because dignity does not begin at the border. Cooperatives keep records. Buyers learn the names of places and people, not only prices. Trust enters the supply chain as a cost saver. Public procurement becomes a stabilizer. When school feeding programs and hospitals buy local fruit, farmers have a floor under their risk. A guaranteed buyer does not remove all fear, but it allows investment to breathe. The conversation shifts from desperation to planning. Micro decisions add up to macro stability. At this point, the idea of a banana shock begins to make sense. Not as a sudden punch that knocks out Western institutions, but as a steady shift in leverage that changes the tone of every negotiation. When a country imports less food, its currency bleeds less. When rural incomes are steadier, politics are less brittle. When farmers see the fruits of policy in their own baskets, the social contract thickens. None of this requires grandstanding. It requires repetition and reliability. Now let us step into the world of big acronyms. The International Monetary Fund looks at balance sheets and stability. It has been present in countries like Burkina Faso with programs that set targets and unlock disbursements when those targets are met. Agricultural output is not a side note in that world. It affects prices, growth, and social resilience. A strong harvest can make a fiscal plan look smarter than it is. A failed season can make a brilliant plan look naive. The banana is not a line item at the center of every table, but it is a quiet actor that moves numbers in the right direction when the weather and policy cooperate. The United States Agency for International Development is built to deliver projects that touch lives in visible ways. Health clinics, food programs, farmer training. After political ruptures, some of those projects contract or pause, others continue under humanitarian umbrellas. The European Union funds infrastructure, governance reforms, and emergency support with its own rules and rhythms. None of these partners speak with one voice, and none of them are static. They adjust to realities on the ground and to politics at home. That is why a banana plan that works is less an insult to these institutions and more a recalibration. It says, we are less fragile than we were. We can negotiate terms from a steadier place. Bring us partnership, not prescriptions. The myth of a single, neat fund tied only to bananas makes for great titles and poor policy. Real money arrives in braided streams. Domestic budgets. Multilateral programs. Bilateral grants. Private credit. Remittances. Cooperative savings. Each stream flows at its own speed and temperature. The people in charge of making those streams meet at the right fields are not influencers. They are civil servants, agronomists, and mayors who learn how to bend rules toward outcomes without breaking the law or the public trust. Because trust is the engine. If farmers believe that payments will be late, they will sell at a discount for cash today. If truckers believe a road will be blocked, they will raise prices before trouble even arrives. If buyers believe quality will slip, they will negotiate as if it already has. A national strategy that builds trust at each link of the chain pushes against the gravity of pessimism. It rewards patience. It rewards staying. Security is the constant background noise. In a region where violence can flare, a good season can be stranded by a bad week on a single corridor. That is why diversification inside agriculture matters. If one district is disrupted, another can cover. If one route is risky, a secondary route that is slightly longer can keep the system alive. Redundancy is not waste. It is resilience made visible. Let us return to the grocery aisle. The family that tosses a bunch into the cart rarely asks who packed it, who drove it, who irrigated it, who fought to keep a road open long enough for it to pass. They do not have to ask. But they will care about one thing, always, price and quality. If a banana grown closer to home in West Africa can meet domestic standards at a fair price, imports shrink and savings multiply quietly. If one day a regional export lane matures, and fruit moves from inland fields to a nearby port to a neighboring market with consistency, then the world's attention follows without being begged. What would success look like without the hype? Local markets stocked year-round, even when the rains are fickle. School canteens with reliable deliveries that do not force menu changes at the last minute. A generation of young people who see farming as a business with margins, not a chore with a fate attached. Bank officers who offer credit based on track records of delivery, not hunches. Journalists who are more interested in packhouse inspection logs than in big round numbers that trend for a day and vanish. Now let us consider failure openly, because honesty is a form of respect. The plan can stumble if inputs are overpriced. It can stall if procurement favors insiders. It can sag if training is treated as theater instead of service. It can ring hollow if photos of ribbon cuttings outnumber photos of full crates loaded onto trucks that actually arrived on time. It can lose public patience if claims outrun progress. The antidote to all of that is boring. Write schedules and keep them. Publish prices and honor them. Fix pumps quickly and say so. Count losses and learn from them. Show receipts. How would such a strategy intersect with the larger politics of the Sahel? Countries in the region are exploring tighter coordination on security and economics. They speak of pooled investment and shared institutions. Ambition is healthy as long as books are kept clean and projects are chosen for impact rather than for show. A farmer does not care what the bank is called. A farmer cares whether the loan officer understands a crop calendar and whether repayment terms line up with harvest reality. If new institutions meet that standard, they will earn legitimacy the old-fashioned way. There is also the human rhythm of a farm year that never appears in speeches. The relief when a pump starts on the first try. The small argument in a household about whether to sell early or wait for a better price. The neighbor who shares cuttings. The day a child brings home a school certificate and asks whether there will be fruit in the lunch bag tomorrow. These details are the actual stakes. They are the reason the word sovereignty matters. Sovereignty is not a flag. It is the ability to plan your day and expect it to hold. Let us test the phrase banana shock one more time. If shock means spectacle that humiliates global institutions, it will disappoint. If shock means the gradual narrowing of dependence, the soft click of a budget line moving from red to black, the calm confidence of a cooperative that can meet an order without panic, then yes, that is possible. It does not trend. It endures. You may be asking a practical question. Why bananas? Why not cotton or gold or a new phone factory? The answer is that food is both economics and psychology. People who eat well do not feel conquered by prices set far away. A fruit strategy does not replace industry or mining or services. It supports them. Workers who can feed their families at predictable prices take risks, invest in skills, and stay in their communities. A nation that is less rattled by food inflation is a nation that can think farther ahead. There is room for ambition within humility. Pilot a small export lane to a coastal neighbor and document every hiccup. Learn which checkpoint causes delays and why. Fix the one thing that breaks most often. Upgrade one packhouse to meet a stricter standard and track how the market responds. When a customer pays a premium for consistent quality, capture that premium for the people who made it possible, not for middlemen who discovered the word logistics yesterday. Scale only when repetition is boring. Technology can help without becoming a talisman. Simple mobile tools can confirm when a delivery leaves a farm and when it arrives at a packhouse, giving both sides confidence to release payments. A database of farm plots and cooperative members can prevent ghost deliveries and favoritism. A weather alert that reaches every farmer's phone a day before a windstorm can save months of work. The point is not to dazzle. The point is to support the discipline that good agriculture demands. Education completes the circle. When agricultural colleges teach post-harvest handling with the same seriousness as agronomy, graduates land in jobs that matter on day one. When vocational schools host cold chain maintenance classes, they create the technicians who keep the system breathing. When journalists learn to read agricultural budgets with care, they ask better questions than who announced the biggest number this week. Public understanding becomes a force multiplier. Let me bring this back to the United States audience. You are used to bananas that taste the same every week of the year. That consistency is not native. It is engineered through scale, standardization, and logistics. When you hear that a landlocked country in West Africa wants to lean on bananas as a pillar of self-reliance, do not imagine an overnight rivalry with agricultural giants. Imagine a steady reduction in import bills, a steadier life for farmers, and a region that can feed itself in more months than before. That is the realistic version of pride. When you hear claims about massive funds tied neatly to a single crop, apply a respectful skepticism. Ask what is funded exactly. Pumps, packhouses, roads, training, inputs, storage. If the answer is yes to the boring things, the plan has a chance. If the answer leans on slogans, prepare for a cycle of excitement and disappointment. The truth is not cynical. It is constructive. A nation grows by solving problems that are beneath the attention of people who love microphones. There is also the moral dimension. For decades, aid has tried to do good while wrestling with its own contradictions. Conditionality that strains social fabrics. Projects designed abroad with thin roots at home. At their best, international partners bring capital, expertise, and solidarity. At their worst, they bring a template that does not fit. A successful banana strategy would not be a slap at outsiders. It would be an invitation. Work with us on the terms that respect what we can already do. Help us do the things that are hard to do alone, like build corridors, certify exports, and manage risk at scale. Treat us as peers when we prove we are ready to be treated that way, and be patient while we do the work that earns that status. Now imagine the camera walking through a morning market. Sellers call out. A crate of fruit lands with a soft thud. A cooperative leader points to a chalkboard with prices that have not changed wildly in weeks. A school cook signs a receipt. A truck pulls away toward a clinic with a small sticker that says "Handled cold, handle with care." The scene is not glamorous, but it is governance in motion. This is what it looks like when a slogan becomes a system. There will be setbacks. A flood will take out a bridge. A cycle of pests will test the patience of an entire district. A scandal will erupt if someone tries to skim. The measure of a national strategy is not whether it avoids trouble. It is whether it learns in public and fixes problems at the speed of trust. Publish the investigation. Replace the official. Compensate the farmers quickly and cleanly. Move on wiser. What about the title that drew you here? Traore's Plan. A $150 million banana shock to the West. Here is the honest reading. Agriculture sits at the center of a sovereignty story. Bananas and plantains are parts of that center because they are familiar, nutritious, and politically powerful as symbols. Money is flowing into agriculture through multiple channels. The true shock, if it comes, will not be a showy moment that humiliates anyone. It will be the quiet satisfaction of families who can afford fruit through the dry months, the calm of a finance minister whose import bill does not haunt every meeting, and the growing seriousness with which neighbors and partners treat a country that has proven it can keep the basics working. As viewers of AfriPol Lens, you do not need theatrics. You need clarity. You need respect for complexity without drowning in it. You need stories that take the dignity of farmers and the intelligence of audiences seriously. That is what we have tried to give you today. Before we close, let me leave you with questions worth answering in the comments. Would you, as a shopper in the United States, pay a modest premium for fruit if it directly supported smallholder farmers in West Africa and came with proof of fair practices? Should international financial programs more explicitly reward governments that invest in irrigation, storage, and farmer training, not just macro targets? If bilateral aid pulls back in some sectors, what forms of private partnership would you trust to fill the gap without trapping farmers in predatory arrangements? Should trade policy in Europe and North America make it easier for African produce to meet standards without raising costs that erase farmer profits? And when you see stunning claims about massive funds or dramatic rejections, do you prefer content that celebrates the narrative, or content that tests it carefully? Subscribe to AfriPol Lens so you do not miss the next deep dive. Like this video to help it reach viewers who care about real development, not just viral talking points. Share it with a friend who follows global affairs but wants stories told from the ground up. Leave a comment with your view of what success should look like one season from now, and what you would measure to call it real. Thank you for giving your attention to a topic that rarely gets the care it deserves. Bananas may be simple. The system around them is not. But with patience, honesty, and respect for the people who do the work, a fruit can carry more than calories. It can carry a promise.